Warning! The information you're about to hear comes from the final and most urgent phase of Dolores Cannon's 40 years of research into the future of this planet. This isn't guesswork. It's a summary of what she gathered through hundreds of deep trance hypnosis sessions. For a long time, many of us have described the shift as a global spiritual change, a peaceful step into a higher state, a gentle movement of souls toward a new earth. But in hoping for the brighter outcome, we may have ignored the details. We've talked so much about the future that we forgot to pay attention to the difficult transition that leads there. In her later years, as the timeline of the Great Awakening drew near, Dolores began receiving far more specific information. The sessions shifted from describing the planet in general to naming certain regions, countries, and coastlines. The superconscious, the source of this knowledge, started giving what can only be called spiritual geopolitical warnings. It described a global rebalancing, a karmic clearing that would show itself not only in spiritual ways, but through physical and geological events. Two places appeared again and again with striking clarity: the United States of America and Western Europe. This isn't a discussion about abstract ideas. This is about spiritual geology and prophetic geography. We are opening the file on Dolores Cannon's final, unsettling vision for the Western world. The point is not to spread fear, but to encourage awareness. What's ahead involves more than a shift in consciousness. It involves changes in the ground beneath us. The time for vague optimism has passed. The time for clear understanding has arrived. This vision doesn't come from a few dramatic sessions. It comes from an overwhelming pattern, a repeated message that becomes impossible to ignore when you look at many independent sources over many decades. Exhibit A. The Edgar Cayce Connection. Our investigation has to begin with Edgar Cayce, the sleeping prophet. His work in the 1930s and 40s shaped much of modern metaphysical understanding. While in a trance, Cayce gave direct and detailed predictions about major changes to the Earth. He described upheavals that would remake coastlines. Consider his words from reading 3976-15. The Earth will be broken up in the western portion of America. The greater portion of Japan must go into the sea. The upper portion of Europe will be changed as in the twinkling of an eye. In reading 1152-11, he spoke even more specifically about the United States. Watch New York, Connecticut, and the like. Many portions of the East Coast will be disturbed, as well as many portions of the West Coast, as well as the central portion of the United States. Los Angeles, San Francisco, will be among those that are destroyed before New York. These prophecies formed the first clear outline of the coming geological events. Exhibit B. Superconscious Confirmation. Decades later, Dolores Cannon began her work. In her early career, she considered herself a skeptic and refused to lead her subjects or mention Cayce's work. Yet the superconscious, speaking through hundreds of people who knew nothing about these prophecies, began confirming Cayce's predictions with remarkable accuracy. In The Convoluted Universe, Book 2, one session stated, "The maps of your world as you know them will be redrawn. Where there is now land, there will be water. Where there is water, new land will rise." This is not a punishment. It is a cleansing, a return to energetic and physical balance. Exhibit C. The Metaphysical Reason, the Atlantean Grid. As Dolores continued, the information shifted from simply describing events to explaining why they were happening. The message became more about karmic physics than geology. The superconscious explained that these changes were connected to ancient fault lines, both physical and energetic, tied to the misuse of crystal technology during the fall of Atlantis. One source said, much of the technology that destroyed Atlantis was based on crystals. The misuse created a deep energetic scar, a karmic imbalance in the planet's grid. The main crystals now lie dormant beneath the sea in what you call the Bermuda Triangle off the coast of America. The highest concentration of this Atlantean karmic residue sits beneath modern power centers, the east coast of America and Western Europe. From this, a clear timeline forms. Cayce described what would happen. Dolores's work confirmed those events and added the underlying reasons. Now we move from the larger pattern to the specific visions for each region, starting with the United States. Dolores's sessions consistently describe the country as the epicenter of the karmic cleansing, due to its role as the New Atlantis. The changes were divided into three main zones. Zone 1, the West Coast, the cleansing of Mu. Warnings about California are well known and closely match Cayce's messages. Dolores's sessions added the spiritual reasoning. According to the information, the land carries memory. A QHHT session stated, "The land is not stable. It was part of the ancient land of Mu, and before that, other forgotten civilizations. It holds a deep memory of great destruction. A part of its own consciousness wants to return to the sea to release the trauma it carries. Underground drilling and secret technologies used beneath the surface are worsening this instability." The vision was not of one massive earthquake, but a series of events. A gradual break-off, portions of the coast sinking over time. Southern California affected first, then the changes moving north along the San Andreas Fault. It was described as a slow process, allowing aware individuals enough time to move inland. Zone 2, the East Coast, the Atlantean Reckoning. The prophecies for the East Coast were more sudden and dramatic. These changes weren't caused by land dropping but by water rising. In another session from the Convoluted Universe, the coastlines will not be the same. New York City, a center of the old financial control system, will be largely underwater. Florida, a landmass that has risen and fallen many times, will be almost entirely gone. The water is reclaiming what belonged to it. This was tied directly to the final karmic cleansing of Atlantis. The ancient crystals off the East Coast, once used to regulate energy and weather, would activate during the shift, triggering massive energetic and tidal changes. Zone 3, the safe zone, the Central Corridor. Despite the warnings, there was also hope. The sessions repeatedly emphasized a place of safety and rebuilding. The center of the country will be the safe harbor. The spine of the Rockies will hold. The Great Plains, once an ancient seabed, will become the new coastlands. This is the heartland, both physically and energetically. It is where the first communities of light will arise. The central region was described as the most stable area, though people were advised to seek higher ground because of the expansion of the Mississippi River and the Great Lakes. Elevation was considered the key. Now we cross the Atlantic to Europe. Europe's changes were just as specific, shaped by the karmic weight of empires and ancient conflicts. Zone 1, the Northern Inundation. Echoing Casey's words about rapid transformations, the superconscious described major flooding across northern Europe. The British Isles will look very different. Much of England, especially low-lying regions, will go underwater. The Nordic countries will face severe flooding. This is a cleansing of old energies, old empires built on conquest, old religious struggles, and power structures that dominated humanity. This was linked to shifting ocean currents and the quickening melt of polar ice. Zone 2, the Mediterranean Transformation. Southern Europe's changes were described as more volcanic and geological. Italy will experience severe unrest within the earth. The volcanoes Vesuvius and Etna will erupt with great power. The Mediterranean Sea will alter its shape as the African and European plates shift. New islands will rise, and some existing ones will disappear. This is the return of ancient feminine energy. Fire and earth clearing the marks of the Roman Empire and the Inquisitions. Zone 3, Eastern Europe, the sanctuaries. Like the United States, Europe has stable zones that act as refuges. The lands known as Russia, especially the southern regions near the Ural Mountains, will be safe. The Carpathian Mountains in Romania will be a refuge. These lands carry ancient, steady energy and are less affected by the karmic burden of Western colonial history and the Atlantean conflict. They are old lands. They will endure. With the warnings laid out, it's natural to feel overwhelmed. It's easy to feel afraid or powerless. But focusing only on physical maps completely misses the purpose of these messages. Dolores Cannon emphasized one key truth again and again. The superconscious repeated it in almost every session. The future is not fixed. It is a probability. A strong one, yes, but not unchangeable. Prophecy is not a sentence. It is a forecast. When a trusted forecaster says a Category 5 storm is coming, you don't panic and freeze. You don't deny it either. You take practical steps. You reinforce what you can. You prepare. And if needed, you move. These visions are not here to frighten you. They are here to help you act wisely. And the most important preparation is not physical. It is vibrational. The superconscious made this absolutely clear, in a line that shaped much of Dolores's later understanding. The ultimate safe zone is your own frequency. If you hold the frequency of unconditional love and trust, you will be guided to the right place at the right time. You could stand in the middle of a collapsing city and still remain untouched. You would exist out of phase with the destruction. If you are filled with fear, you could be standing in the safest location on Earth and be struck by a falling tree. The physical changes reflect a deeper transformation of collective consciousness. Your job is not to outrun the storm. Your job is to become still within it. So now we shift from passive listeners to active participants. We use what we've learned not as a source of fear, but as motivation to strengthen our inner world. We reinforce our minds against fear-driven noise. We gather what truly matters: compassion, forgiveness, steady inner peace. We deepen our connection to our higher self, our most reliable guide. This is the real preparation. This is the real work. This is how a frightening prophecy becomes a moment of evolution. Now, if you wish, make a declaration of your chosen state of being. It's not about where you live physically. It's about the level of consciousness you choose to hold. Right. I am the calm in the storm. Let this space become a grid of conscious souls, each one shining like a lighthouse. Each one offering stability to the whole. Show the universe that you hear the message and that you are not afraid. You are ready. The future is not something that happens to us. It is something we shape together. Thank you for being prepared.